Okay guys, so we're going to be talking about the full moon in Pisces. It's happening at the end of the month and it is a little bit of a doozy, therefore I'm going to walk you through it. Main heavy hitting aspect of this full moon is that it will be conjunct Saturn. Saturn is a planet of discipline, restriction, limitation. There's a lot of discourse about Saturn on both TikTok and Twitter that talk about it not being a bad planet. It's not inherently bad, however, it is a malefic, meaning it tends to give us some more challenges or struggles before it rewards us, rather than just being this happy-go-lucky, wants to give us abundance planet. Usually likes to drag us to hell and back a little bit to teach us a lesson of tough love. So when the moon comes into contact with Saturn, especially in a conjunction, it's intensified by that influence, meaning things like our emotions, our comfort zone, our happiness, our intuition, our pleasure, even things like women, home, family, and domestic matters can become a little bit suppressed, limited, or dealing with struggle. Typically, Pisces full moons are going to be these emotionally exasperated transits where everybody's crying their eyes out, everybody's super creative, it's very dreamy. That's not to say that the Pisces influence is completely out the window. It's not. However, there's more of a sobering effect with Saturn now in the picture. Kind of saying okay, I know that this hurts, but you really need to stand up and brush yourself off and go to the next step. Personally feel it has feelings of something being long overdue, no longer being able to brush something under the rug. I think it's okay, there's no more use in beating a dead horse. There is an encouragement to kind of let go of, release, or walk away from something that has probably, long outdue overrun its course. Full moons don't always have to be this super ominous, awful, horrible ending. I think a lot of times people hear full moon and they immediately think, oh, this means breakup. Oh, this means the one thing that's making me happy has to go out the window. That's not the case. You've lived through a million full moons. There is one every single month, except this month there are two. Therefore, this one is a little bit more potent in terms of releasing. For some people, this won't be as dramatic. It can be the tying up of loose ends. It can be coming full circle. It can be something, reaching completion. I would say for most people, there is going to be a karmic element of having to get a little bit real with yourself. And there might even be some relevance of something that began or started back around February 20th of this year. This is the closing of the door that opened back then. Pisces has a tendency to be very looming in its essence. It can be a little bit unclear, elusive, deceptive. That word doesn't also have to be, in the negative connotation of being intentionally deceptive or manipulative, but rather that it's hazy. It is kind of smoke and mirrors. Pisces rules endings anyways, so having a full moon in Pisces is kind of naturally an emotional or spiritual clearing out, but with Saturn kind of representing the more practical, real world terms of ending things, this is less about telepathically telling, your ex-boyfriend, that's it, I'm done with you, and more of using your words and pulling your big girl pants on and being extremely clear in a very black and white way. So what I mean by this is if there's something that you've been brushing under the rug, avoiding, escaping, running away from, distracting yourself from, or numbing, there has to be an ending of this 1 foot in, 1 foot out sort of approach. No more, I will start on Mondays. No more, I'm going to work on being healthier. No more, I should enter my healing era. This is about practical, tangible change and endings. Things like your dreams, intuition, emotions, creativity can be at an all-time high right now and run very rampant. However, I wouldn't use this as an excuse or a justification to act on your emotions in a very impulsive way. In fact, I would encourage the exact opposite and say if you're dealing with some very heavy feelings, to confront them alone and not through real world tendencies like flicking somebody off, screaming at somebody over the phone, doing, a big dramatic scene. Look inward and ask yourself, what's the bigger lesson here? What is this trying to teach me about myself? And how can I get better through maturity and discipline? Karmic things from the past are likely to be relevant. It could also just look like old patterns or cycles coming back to test you a little bit. You might feel very emotionally limited or suppressed in a situation where you're feeling very big things, but you're not allowed or it's not appropriate to express them. Or the things and the feelings that you are experiencing are so big that you would rather not deal with them. Imagine seeing a fork in the road and both lanes kind of leading to the same outcome, which is confronting your emotions. You can't just be oh, I'll go down this one seems easier. Both are going to kind of leave you with the same inability to run away anymore. can be a general sense of loneliness, depression, kind of melancholic feelings from the past, yearning, mourning, pessimism, just general mopiness. My friends and I call it being a merp. If you are the one who's sulking and bringing down the vibe because of your emotions, you're being a merp, so don't be a merp. I think what I'm seeing collectively for the people that I'm reading for is just a general discomfort and disagreement between what you want or what you're feeling, what your emotions are telling you, what your heart is telling you, versus what your mind is telling you and what you know that you need to do. I would say the most common trope of what this can be described as is like, I want to be with this person, but I know that it's not a good idea. I want to just stomp my foot and not do the thing that I don't want to do, but I know that it's my responsibility. I want to give up and chill out and relax because it's easier, but I know that I have goals that I need to hit. A lot of things are retrograde in the sky right now, so I think too September is generally just a month of slowing down and kind of encourage you to do a lot of self-reflection to begin with. And I think this full moon is really like the peak or the kickoff of like sit down and look inward. Stop desperately grabbing or clinging to things that are external to you to avoid having to look in the mirror. In some cases, for some people, there will be like a big exposure, a secret revealed, something dramatic. It is a full moon. Pisces, again, has a lot to do with deception. So there can be an exposure of that deception. Collectively, there can be some sort of suppression, limitation, or restrictions around things that have to do with women, families, anything medical like medication. There can be travel bans, anything that restricts people from flying, from traveling to foreign countries, issues with the water or the air quality, maybe even restrictions with water or the ocean in general. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I'm literally kind of expecting another lockdown happening this fall, and I think very rapidly we're seeing an uptick in, issues with the air again, illnesses, viruses. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I think it's entirely political, and I don't think you actually need to fear for your life about getting sick right now. Obviously, take care of yourself, but the Pisces and Virgo axis with the full moon in Pisces, conjunct Saturn being challenges and restrictions, and then us having a Mercury retrograde in Virgo, there's a lot of repeating of the past, a lot of frustration, setbacks, obstacles, hindrances, annoyances, delays, frustrations with things regarding health, travel, small details, transportation, communication, news, information, not necessarily knowing if it's correct or accurate or not, smoke and mirrors when it comes to content and information and news that we're getting. Just use your discernment, try to screw your head on correctly, and try not to be too swayed by things like fear, deception, and emotions right now, both in your personal life, but also when it comes to real world matters. I hope this helps. There's no reason to be scared. Again, you've endured and survived a million full moons, and you will be able to survive a million more. You feel like you're in a really tough spot and need some clarity, and you're like, girl, I need to know how this is going to be affecting me, you can book a reading in my bio. I would even recommend the most affordable one, the mini reading, because that'll be like a quick read of just this full moon. Just make sure to specify that in the notes section so I know that that's why you're booking it. I love you. Good luck. You don't need it, and I hope that this helps.